What's going on, guys? I am back with another video of records that I, the owner of a record store, have taken home over the past few months. Well, I'm about to take them home. I kind of slotted them aside so I could do this video. My goal with this video is to peel the curtain back to show you what kind of stuff I am bringing home. I see a lot of wild things come in and out of the shop. There are certain things I'm looking for in my collection. There's also certain things that I am getting turned on to by listening to it at the store that I may not have discovered before. And with this video, my hope is that it provides some insight about the first part that I just mentioned, but also maybe recommends you some records that you might enjoy in the future. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please be sure to do so and make sure you hit the bell as well so you don't miss out on anything I put out. Now, the first couple records in this collection are actually from the most recent collection we picked up. If you've been following the Instagram, you probably saw that at the end of last year, we picked up an amazing 3,000 piece collection from New Hampshire. Now, we also just got another wild collection dropped in our lap. I'm going to do an entire video on some of the highlights from that collection, but it's about 2,500 more records. And this collection might be the best I've ever seen in my life. Now, we've had a lot of great collections over the years, from Jim's collection to the one we just got in New Hampshire, which was also excellent. Lots of cool stuff, the big metal collection, the big electronic collection. There's been great stuff over the course of TMR's life, but this one in particular, just based on the craziness of some of the records in there, as well as how widespread the genres are, definitely deserves its own video. So look forward to that in the coming weeks. I'm going to show you a couple from there, and then some other stuff that has just trickled in over the past handful of months since the last time I made this video. Starting off with a huge heavy hitter for me, this is Company Flow, Fun Crusher Plus. This is a record that I have been looking for so many years. It was one that I was like, if I ever saw it at a store for a semi-reasonable price, I would probably just buy it without any questions asked. I did see it one time in New York a few years ago on a wall. I forget which store, but they were asking like $250 for it, which was definitely a little too high. I think you could even buy it for cheaper on Discogs internationally, I believe. But this is a record that's so hard to find, and this collection had it. This art is just absolutely iconic. This is one of LP from Run the Jewels' first hip-hop groups. It's super experimental, it's very fun, it's very underground. It's definitely not as mainstream appeal as Run the Jewels is, but there's definitely the same level of fierceness in LP's rapping, and the beats are just all over the place on this record. It's hypnotic, it's grooving. I love this album, and it's not something you want to throw on all the time, but when you're in the mood for something like this, nothing quite hits the spot. A long time ago, we used to be friends. The Dandy Warhols, Welcome to the Monkey House. Now, I am not hyper familiar with Dandy Warhols. I know maybe like 5 or 6 songs over the course of their whole career, but We Used to Be Friends is one of my favorites of theirs because I'm a huge Veronica Mars fan, and that is the theme song to that show. When I saw there was a first press of Welcome to the Monkey House, I knew I had to listen to the record to know if the whole record was as kind of laid back and groovy and cool as that single is, and I'm pleased to announce that it is. This is a great alt-rock record with so much personality, so much charm, and I thought this was a great listen, so I had to take it home. And the last one I'm going to show you from this collection, just to show you kind of how far this massive collection spreads, is a bootleg from back in the day. This is not one that you can find regularly, as far as I know. I have not seen one, but this is Sade Unplugged. This is her MTV Unplugged performance. I believe it exists on a DVD and a CD, but never on vinyl except for this right here, which is an unofficial press. I don't know why they wouldn't press it. It seems like this would be something a lot of people would want. Sade is one of the best voices in music history. The track list is also insane. It's basically a greatest hits. And the pressing for being a boot sounds great. It's pretty dynamic, and it makes you feel like you're in the room with her. So I've never seen this before, and from looking it up, it is not an easy one to track down in the aftermarket, so I had to take it home. Ouroboros by Ray LaMontagne. Now, Ray LaMontagne is an artist I probably only knew one song from, his big song Trouble from the 2010 era. Really, really good singer-songwriter, usually pretty sad and downtrodden with his style of music and his lyrics and just the general tone of his music. I never really was compelled to listen to more of his stuff, even though I did think he had a great voice and was a solid songwriter. This record was recommended to me as it came through the shop, and oh my God, this almost feels like, and you know, the cover actually evokes the imagery of what I'm about to describe as well, I just realized, but very Pink Floyd-y, very elements of like metal and Dark Side of the Moon, kind of these like kind of spacey, really beautiful soundscapes with his amazing voice over it. It feels almost like he linked up with Pink Floyd and decided to be the vocalist. It is a really, really beautiful record, and it has that kind of ethereal, just like overwhelmingly big sound while being so dialed in at the same time. This is a really great record. It surprised me. I didn't want to like this record. I really didn't. He's all over the internet. He's TikTok famous. He's the next big thing. It's The Dare. I you probably could not escape his big song, Girls. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just listen to like 6 seconds of it, you'll be like, oh, that song. And a lot of people are calling him LCD Sound System Light because it's kind of like LCD Sound System for people that didn't know LCD Sound System. But I will say, I listened to this record when it came in out of curiosity, and kind of liked it. It's like a poppier LCD Sound System. It's made more for like clubbing and partying than LCD, which is a little more sardonic and leans a little more towards indie while still being very much danceable. This record is a tight collection of tracks that every song was really fun to listen to, and I think the whole store was vibing on it when I played it, and I was like, okay, I guess I gotta take this record. And now 2 records from post-hardcore legends, Title Fight. This is Shed, their first record, and then Floral Green, their magnum opus, their second record. Title Fight doesn't exist anymore, and there's tons of memes on the internet that say, bring back Title Fight, and that's because they're fantastic. If you like emo with a ton of catchy hooks, really memorable guitar parts, really intense vocals as most post-hardcore tends to be, Title Fight is right up your alley. I think they do it with some of the best of them, kind of like Hot Mulligan at times. Really solid band, and both these records are great. This Title Fight, Floral Green in particular, there's a gatefold inside the slipcase. It's a really pretty green, which is actually the variant I was hoping to get one day when I added it to my want list, and it walked in the shop. So shout out to the person that traded these in. Now they're mine. Oh, I lied. This is also from the new collection. I thought I had pulled everything. I had not. This is an early UK pressing of Nico Chelsea Girl. This record is absolutely gorgeous. Very fragile vocals, very memorable guitar parts, a little psychedelic, a little singer-songwritery. You might know Nico from Velvet Underground and Nico, the Banana album, but Nico has a very long career with many albums and has collaborated with tons of famous musicians. This record, many people think, is probably her best solo effort, and an early UK press is very hard to find. It's not a first, as far as I can tell. I think it might be a second, but it's one of those weird ones on Discogs that doesn't quite match up to anything. There's no matrix number at all around the label. It's kind of strange, but it's not listed as a bootleg. It sounds really good. If anyone has any info on it, I'd love to hear, but yeah, great record. I've been looking for a while. This one was kind of a surprise. Straw Dogs, We Are Not Amused. This walked in with a crate of Punk a couple months ago, and I liked the art. I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. And you know, with Punk, I'm kind of all over the place. Some of it I really can't do if it's way too kind of noisy and cacophonous and intense. I like more melodic punk, and this, while it is definitely like leaning towards skate punk, I would say there's a lot of elements of Nawabum, like heavy metal in there as well from the 80s. Just a really catchy listen. If you're a fan of like Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtracks, I really think you might dig this record. This is a band that totally passed me by, and every time I've played it in the shop, which has been 2 or 3 times now, there are lots of people that comment on it. This is Luscious Jackson, Natural Ingredients. And this album is an amalgamation of like trip hop and hip hop and alt rock. It's kind of all over the place, genre bending, and I think it's a really fun listen. Song to song, it really changes and surprises you, and I just love this album front to back. There's a few more Luscious Jackson that just came in this new collection. Very excited to hear those. Hopefully they win me over as much as this one. Really cool. Esperanza Spalding, Radio Music Society. I believe she's from the Pacific Northwest, maybe even Portland, if I remember correctly. Local legend. This is a very solid neo-soul record with elements of jazz mixed in, a little R&B mixed in. Really pleasant listen front to back, and I'd only really experienced her music with her experimental jazz that she did after this, and it didn't quite do it for me. I've always heard how amazing she is, and this record unlocked that for me. I really just thought it was a fantastic album, and I was very excited to add it. Going a little more into more jazzy stuff. Look at old Maddie getting into jazz these days. This is the Yusuf Days Trio, Welcome to the Hills. And look at that amazing lenticular cover. This is a VMP release that they did beautifully with this amazing jacket, and the discs all sound excellent. This is a jazz performance, but there's so many elements of Yusuf Days music that is not just straight ahead jazz. There's so many genres inspire his music, whether it's soul or hip hop, or R&B. There's definitely those melodic tendencies to go beyond his virtuoso level playing, and I've honestly really enjoyed all of the Yusuf Days that I've been digesting over the past year or so. I think he's amazing, and he's really kind of opening my eyes to the kind of jazz that I love. This record in particular is a slammer. And one more in the same vein, this is Dinner Party Dessert. Shout out to Goose for making me get this record. Actually, we got a copy of this record in the shop, and he was like, can I buy this? And I was like, sure. And he was like, okay, I'm gonna put it on for you. And he put it on, I was like, oh, I didn't know it, it's so good. And then he went and bought me a copy because he's awesome. This is Terrence Martin, Robert Glasper, Kamasi Washington, and Ninth Wonder, and it features all kinds of people from Snoop Dogg to Herbie Hancock to Rhapsody. It is an incredible, I guess it's a jazz record, but there's so many MCs on it that it feels much more just like a straight up jazzy hip hop record. Really amazing listen. If you like this kind of stuff, I mean, like, maybe it's meant to be thrown on at a dinner party. I don't know what the exact name is alluding to, but I will say that anything Robert Glasper is probably worth a listen, and you got so many other great people on here like Kamasi. I fought getting this record for so long. It's been in and out of the shop so many times, and I'm always just like, I just don't like Frank Zappa. And honestly, that's kind of where I'm still at. I don't love most of Frank Zappa's stuff. I'm not a big blues guy, especially like experimental blues. It just doesn't do it for me. It's nothing I grew up on, and I've been having a lot of trouble getting into it as I'm getting older. That being said, one of my favorite songs of all time is on this record. The second to last song is a 10-minute opus called Watermelon and Easter Hay, and it is just this beautiful, meandering, just gorgeous guitar song that's just breathtaking from the first note to the last. And it definitely falls kind of in the realm of some of that guitar stuff I've talked about on this channel before, like William Tyler, North Americans, things like that. That's kind of this almost alt country ambient guitar work. That song is one of the most majestic pieces of music I've ever heard, and I'm keeping this just for that song. I don't think I'm ever gonna listen to this whole record again, just that song, just that 10-minute song. This is super cool and also super sad at the same time. Descendants, Milo Goes to College. Amazing early punk rock stuff. I mean, just super fast, super catchy. This jacket has seen some better days. Unfortunately, it had some serious damage happen to it, but this is a first press and it plays VG+. It sounds fantastic, and it's really hard to find a first press of this record. So I decided to keep this for now. If I ever find a first press that doesn't have a mangled jacket, I'll probably swap it out. That's the beauty of having a record store, but right now I'm stoked to have this. This is a little slice of my high school. Lit, A Place in the Sun. This is such a classic record. Everybody knows My Own Worst Enemy, and people probably also know the song Miserable. There's also some other, Down was another big single for them, I believe. This record is just a really good kind of alt-rock leaning emo record with a little bit of pop-punk influence in there. Just a great record. Just a record from my childhood that I hadn't listened to since my childhood in full, and I played it in the shop, and I was like, damn, this still hits. Another big grail was knocked off my list when we got Electronic Collection that kind of filled the store with so many classic down-tempo and, drum and bass and housey and electronica stuff from like the 90s and 2000s. This one is a trip-hop record that I've been looking for forever. I've never found, and now I have it. This is Massive Attack's 100th Window. Very hard record to find. The jacket is this massive, massive multi-fold jacket with 3 discs. And this record, I would say, plays at like a VG+. There's a little bit of noise every now and again, but it actually plays pretty well all the way through. One of their more interesting records. It is definitely not anyone's favorite Massive Attack record. Now, if I'm wrong, please leave a comment and let me know, but it's kind of hard to argue with some of the other ones. That being said, this record is a beautiful listen. It's a little more somber, a little more experimental than some of their other stuff. But what's cool is that Sinead O'Connor is actually featured on a lot of the songs on this record. I always love when Massive Attack intermingles with different iconic female vocalists like Elizabeth Fraser. Sinead really adds a nice texture to the song she's on this record, and this record front to back for me is a great listen if you're in the mood for something that's really atmospheric but still very much trip hop. And I don't know if it's ever gonna get a repress. Maybe eventually. I feel like it has to, right? But happy to have this now. Speaking of amazing female singers, Regina Spektor, Far. This has been on my list forever. It hasn't had a repress maybe ever. I think just the original press exists, and this is, for me, I think her best record. I love this album front to back, and I'm also going to make a shout out for the song Laughing With, which is one of her best songs lyrically. Kishibashi does an amazing cover of that song, so check that out if you're a fan of her and have not heard that. But this record eluded me for so many years. I didn't want to pay the triple-digit prices for it, so I was like, one day I'll find it. And within the span of 2 weeks, I got 2 copies of this. One went into the store and one went into my collection. But yeah, one was a trade-in, a walk-in trade, and the other came in the New Hampshire collection. So kind of wild how 10 years I didn't have any, and then in 2 weeks I have 2. This record kind of surprised me. Wags told me to listen to this, and I really enjoyed it. This is the Colorfield, Virgins and Philistines. If I remember correctly, they might be doing some version of this for RSD this year. This is just a really, really good kind of Brit poppy, I guess, new wave of British popular music. What year did this come out? This is 1985. Just a really good collection of songs. Great pop, very catchy, and what blew my mind, and you're all gonna make fun of me for this, and I can't believe I'm actually admitting this on a video, and I'm embarrassed, and you know what, I'm just gonna say it. I had no idea that Can't Get Enough of You Baby was not an original Smash Mouth song. My whole life, since I heard that as a child, I thought they wrote that song. It's actually a song from a long time ago. I forget who the original artist was, but this band covers it as the opening of this album. When I heard it, I was like, my brain kind of broke. I was like, wait, but that's Smash Mouth, and Smash Mouth came out so many years later. Yeah, so that was an interesting revelation for Matt. But this record's really good. Listen to it. Some more local legends from the PNW, the Wipers, Youth of America. It's punk rock for sure, but there's so many elements of art rock in this that it's not straight ahead punk. I think that these guys really carved a path for themselves in terms of being in their own lane. They didn't really sound quite like anyone else, and I don't know if anyone else has really sounded quite like them since. And this is my favorite of the records that I've heard so far. I feel like I can't live in Portland and not have a Wipers record, so I got this really nice reissue. It has really good foil on the cover, and it has a beautiful gatefold with foil as well. Yeah, just a really solid classic punk record that I was excited to add to the collection. And then this record, I didn't know this record, Living Legends, classic. I wanted to listen to it because someone came in the shop and, as Goose tends to do, he recommended them Brian Eno, Before and After Science. And there's a track on there that the name of the song is eluding me right now. But it's a beautiful song that is a vocal track on there. And I guess Living Legends sampled that song on a song on this record. And the kid who was listening to the Brian Eno record was like, oh, this is the Living Legends sample. And I was like, I need to hear this whole record now. And lo and behold, this is a fantastic hip hop record. So really excited. This is the VMP press. And I'm stoked that I enjoyed the whole record, not just the song with the beautiful sample. Furthering my delving into jazz, another jazz record. Can you believe how much not obvious stuff for me is in this video? This is Pharoah Sanders' Love Will Find a Way. Really, really good, I guess, spiritual jazz. A lot of it's just very pretty. Some of it's a little experimental, as Pharoah Sanders tends to do. But this record as a whole was a very pleasant listen. And I've liked most of the Pharoah Sanders records that I've heard thus far. I don't know if I've heard the really out there stuff, but like really enjoyed Karma for the most part. And I enjoyed this. And there was another one that I forget the name of that I liked. Anyway, I think I'm going to kind of go down that rabbit hole a little further because I think I'm you know, this is resonating with me. This band is called the Effing Champs, but the actual swear word is in the name. I didn't know them before. This is their album 4, which I believe is their 4th record. Very clever. And this is an interesting listen because it's extremely fun all the way through, but there's no vocals. The best way I could describe it is this. It's like a post-rock record, but if it was heavy metal instead of, you know, rock sensibilities. There's just so much heaviness to it, but it has this kind of like soundscapey feel to it where it really feels like it's taking you on this journey. No vocals, just letting all the instruments do the work. And I thought this record was awesome front to back. Super catchy, super heavy. Definitely check them out. And finally, Rose City Band, Earth Trip. First of all, this is one of the prettiest variants I've ever seen. I just had to show y'all. It's just so beautiful. And it's one of those like kind of iridescent metallic-y ones too. This record didn't blow my mind, but I will say it was really nice for certain occasions, like great kind of easy listening. If you like Wilco, it's kind of in that vein, a little alt country-ish. Just a great collection of songs, well written, pleasant to listen to. Again, not reinventing the wheel, but between the beautiful variant and the enjoyability of the full listen, I had to take it home. All right, I'm done. That's it. That's what I've taken home for this batch. But with this new collection, I fear there's going to be a few more. So look forward to another installment of this video in a couple weeks, couple months. Who knows? But I hope you enjoyed this one. And I'd love to know which of these records you love or would have taken home if you were in my shoes. So leave a comment below. I'd love to chat with you guys down there. I appreciate y'all watching this video. And of course, there's more coming soon. So take it easy.